Lyndall, I'd love to dive a little bit further into mindset, positive thinking, and how that can impact our wellness.
Absolutely, yes. Well, it can have a really big impact on, yes, our nervous system, but also how clear we are with our mind and our thoughts. So if we think back to, how many thoughts we have in a day, that's sort of 60 to 80,000.
It's a lot.
There's a lot of activity going around. If you just imagine that, you're standing on a platform and imagine every thought as a train. That's a very busy station that you've got these trains coming and going 60 to 80,000, just to give you some perspective around the activity and why sometimes you get home from work and you're exhausted, but you may not have been that physical. Because the amount of work that you're doing in your mind, you can become, really exhausted. But there's some ways to keep your trains on the right track. So shall we dive into those?
Absolutely. How do you stop the trains?
Well, maybe we can't stop them, but we can have them going in the right direction, and a direction that really serves our purpose and our values and really helps us feel more relaxed and calm day to day. So we can talk about, first one is taking time out from thinking. So during the day, very active, we have a lot going on our devices. We have a lot of information overload. We're in an era of, digital decision fatigue from the amount of decisions that we have throughout the day. And some of them are great, but it's still decisions and still effort for our brain. So we want to talk about how we set up this taking time out from thinking, because we've got that activity, but how are we switching off? And so we look at, technology and how much accessibility we have with it, and, how much flexibility we also have with it as well. But when do we actually put those boundaries in place to switch off? I'd love to know, do you sleep with the phone next to your bed?
I do. I have made an effort to put it in the drawer and on Do Not Disturb. It sort of automatically goes onto that at a certain time. But I am totally one of those people that if I wake up during the night, I'll open the drawer.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the lure, right? Because for a lot of us, we're getting our emails on our phone. So essentially we've got our filing cabinet, the old-fashioned filing cabinet, next to our bed, which is never going to help us have the most restful sleep. So we look at boundaries around technology, and we know that we need a minimum of 1 hour of no blue light in order to give our brains the time they need to unwind. So when we're looking at sleep, and if you're using your phone as an alarm, perhaps, is that how you're using yours?
I don't use my phone as an alarm just because I have children, but I do I work a lot. So I suppose I'm always sort of checking in, and it is that you want to just make sure, I'll just check my emails again quickly. There's sort of no off switch with that.
Yeah, constantly in that to-do list. So if we sleep with our phones next to our bed, which a lot of people do, when your alarm goes off in the morning, the first thing you touch, right, is your phone. Now, for some people, they can just turn their alarm off. But for a lot of people, that's a dive straight into emails, that's socials, that's into the news, that's into all of these areas that may not be giving you the best start to the day. And so if we get back to having an old-fashioned alarm clock, you don't have that lure, and you keep that, your bedroom away from those distractions and away from having that technology, so you can have that restful sleep. So ideally the phone is out of the bedroom.
Like even in the kitchen or whatever.
The kitchen is great. I've got a technology shelf in the kitchen, so all the devices go in that technology shelf and they're all getting charged overnight. And so that really helps just create that sort of boundary and that distance from technology. So it's thinking about perhaps when you can have a little digital detox. It might be on your drive home that, you've just got your phone. Some people put it in the boot, so they're not tempted to touch it, but it might be that you have silence and just have that space, because it's also about how many times we check the news throughout the day. It's taking time out from thinking isn't just at night time. It can be just having mini pauses throughout the day. And, we used to just check the news once a day. Now we can check it 20 times a day, however many times we want. We've got to be careful about what is the information we're letting in, because last time I checked the news, there wasn't a whole lot of good news. And so what are you allowing into your space? Because ultimately that affects our thinking and our thoughts. So time out from thinking is about, what does that look like for your recipe? For you, it's getting that phone out of the drawer and getting it to the kitchen, because you're setting up an environment to have thoughts that are more conducive to you switching off. And then you just look at how that could ripple and extend out and the impact that has on your life. So taking time out from thinking can be very different for each person. Each person will have a different recipe, but starting by getting it out of the bedroom is a really good place. Next one is about being playful. We get very serious as we get more responsibility and we have more juggling of priorities, and we all have a lot on. We get very serious and we forget about that lighter, more playful part of you. But if I was to ask you, what does it look like when you tap into the lighter part of you, what would you be doing?
It's very funny because only recently I was just with family and we were doing some outdoor, we do a competition every year. So we were outside playing these games and being really silly. And I honestly had such an amazing day and couldn't wipe the smile off my face. And I do put it down to that, haven't been silly for a while. So I totally understand what you're saying. But yeah, probably just being silly with mates, hanging out and just sort of not always talking about kids and life and whatever, and just sort of being a bit young again.
Well, that's another way just to tap into that sort of that fire in your belly and that playful part of you, just to bring that lightness in, because everything can get a bit heavy, which is when our thoughts get a little heavy as well. Whereas that day, I bet you had sort of positive thoughts and, fun, light thoughts because the activity synchronized and was in alignment with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So having more of those days is important for you, Sophie.
Absolutely.
The other one is forgiveness, and looking at, who perhaps you could be holding a grudge against and how that just replays on your mind. And, is that working for you? Is that taking you towards thoughts that are helping you be the best version of yourself? Buddha has a quote about, resentment is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to get sick. I think that's really powerful. It's like, okay, you're holding a grudge on, a different person. Is that really going to work for us long term? And the other one is self-compassion, because, we are our own hardest critic. So what do we need to let go of ourselves in order to treat ourselves with more kindness and have more inner kindness? And we might not be exactly where we want to be with health, maybe physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, but we can create an action plan about that. It's not about giving ourselves a hard time about it. It's about how do we create the action plan moving forward so we can actually start, small habits and start working on those areas that you want to improve.
So that's nice to be able to go, okay, I can sort of sit back in your thoughts and be a bit kind to yourself and forgive yourself and others. I think that all sort of plays in with each other.
Yeah, it really does. And adding into that is also sympathetic joy, which is getting on board for other people's happiness.
Yeah.
Because, when celebrating the success of someone else actually fills your tank of happiness. So there's a win-win for everyone. And I think so often we get in our own little bubble and, not so much supportive of others around us. But when other people have great success, that's a really wonderful time for us to get on board and to really celebrate those successes as well. The other one that's very powerful to help keep your train on the right tracks is meditation and deep breathing. And this visualization of these trains is a perfect way to start with how we start to think about, okay, we're standing at that platform. Do we want to get on the train of worry or self-doubt or fear? Where's that going to take us? Because it's probably not going to be leaning towards you being the best version of yourself. Or perhaps we want to get on the train of self-compassion, of flow. And if it's not, self-love, maybe it's just being in a position of being grounded and present. What does that look like? When you're with your children, for example, and your 3 boys are running crazy, how could you be more grounded? And what does that train look like? So standing on the platform, I think, is a great analogy.
Oh, I love your analogy. It's so good. Yes, you can visualize it. Yeah, that's great.
There's a lot of activity going around, and it's how we settle in. And when we're using, meditation as that tool and also deep breathing as the tool, we're stimulating the prefrontal cortex of our brain, which is basically the area that helps with emotional regulation, decision making, and the rational thought. So by deep breathing, we actually are able to slow down our breath and actually engage the brain for mental clarity.
Right. It's so interesting because I know we're talking about mindset and mindfulness and stuff, but when you actually slow down and break it all down, it makes so much sense. Why wouldn't you respond like that? It's so easy to be resentful against someone or feel, upset about something. We're on the wrong train.
Yes, get off that train. It's not going to take you to where you want to get to. It's I think it's a really interesting one just to give yourself that short, snap out of it, but also to know there's evidence behind it as well is really fantastic. And I've got one you might like, which is that by meditating, you actually increase the area of your brain which is related to attention and memory.
Really?
And there's lots of studies behind that as well. So it's a really wonderful reason to put some value into meditation and deep breathing.
And so how can we work towards that?
I'd love to show you exactly how to work through that, Sophie, if you're willing to be a participant.
Absolutely.
We can start with some diaphragmatic breathing, and I'll take you through a visualization as well. So we'll commence with the deep breathing and really understanding how that works, because we really want to engage the diaphragm and the lower lung rather than the shallow breathing in the upper lung, because this is where we get our fight and flight. This is where we get our rest and digest. And so often we're shallow breathing, and that's when our body thinks there's a shark and we want to go back to seaweed. We want to go back to, okay, there's our body feeling safe. What we're feeding in through our thoughts, your body is amazing because it's actually activating the responses. So if you're feeding in stress, it'll activate, I'm in trouble, get me out of here, shut down my immune system, shut down my digestion, all the things we've talked about that happen under stress. Whereas if we're feeding in that we're safe, then we're going into mental clarity, we make better decisions. That's when we're going to be at our most creative. So this is where we want to spend the majority of our time.
Okay, that's the good zone.
That's the good zone. Let's get into it, shall we? So just sit or lie in a comfortable position where you feel fully supported. Gently close your eyes, allowing yourself to turn inward. Place your left hand on your belly and your right hand on your chest. And let your shoulders relax completely, releasing any tension you may be holding. And just begin by taking 3 long, exaggerated, deep breaths. Inhaling deeply through your nose, feeling your left hand rise as your belly expands. Exhale slowly through your mouth, feeling your left hand fall as your belly softens. Notice that your right hand remains still, allowing your breath to come entirely from your diaphragm. Keep your shoulders soft and relaxed. These deep breaths center your focus and signal to your body that it's the natural relaxation response. Now rest your hands gently in your lap or by your side, bringing your attention to your natural breathing rhythm. Observe without judgment. Are you slipping back into shallow, automatic breaths? Or perhaps settling into a deeper diaphragmatic breathing routine? Notice where your breath flows from and gently guide it so your belly moves with each inhale and exhale. Allow this steady movement to ground you, releasing any tension or distraction. Let's deepen the breath together. Inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale gently through your mouth for a count of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. With each exhale, feel your body softening further, letting go of stress and tension. When you feel ready, extend your exhalation even more. Inhale for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. And now exhale for a count of 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Notice how your body feels with each longer exhalation. Feeling more relaxed, more peaceful, and still. As you continue breathing deeply, visualize yourself standing on a peaceful train platform. The trains around you are coming and going, and each one carrying a thought or emotion. Some trains are filled with worry, stress, or frustration, while others carry peace, joy, or clarity. With each exhale, let the trains you don't want pass without boarding them. And with each inhale, step onto a train of your choice. Perhaps the train of calm, clarity, or flow. Feel it carrying you gently forward, supporting your best self with every breath. Each inhale invites thoughts that align with the life you want, and each exhale releases what no longer serves you. When you're ready, gently bring your awareness back to the room. Notice the sounds around you, the sensation of your body against the surface beneath you, and the steady rhythm of your breath. Take one final deep cleansing breath. Inhale fully through your nose and exhale completely through your mouth, extending the exhalation to calm and soothe your nervous system. Gently open your eyes and carry this sense of calm, clarity, and choice with you as you move through your day. To learn a little more about your mindset and deep breathing, you can download the worksheet, which is in the link in the description.